With power and option that are out of sight, ABC's assembling the big game tonight. The Vikes storm in to pillage and plunder, but the Pack's hard to sack on the frozen tundra. The fans are up to the ride of their life. They're coming off the line for a showdown tonight.
Just when it looked like the ship was going under, the Vikings come sailing into Green Bay, winners of 2 straight, and battling to stay afloat in the NFC North. It was a painful, forgettable first half of the season for the Packers, but after last week's upset win in Atlanta, Brett Favre tries to keep it rolling tonight.
Come on and get it! Come on and get ready! Are you ready for football? A Monday night party! Al and John have the keys. Let's get this baby started. Better buckle up. Super Bowl 40's in sight.
And at quarterback from Southern Mississippi, number 4, Brett Favre.
And that's an introduction that's only being made for the 215th consecutive time in a regular season game as Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers come out onto the field ready to host the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. Al Michaels along with John Madden and Sam Ryan, welcome to Lambeau Field in Green Bay. Strange times in this town. The Packers haven't had a losing season since 1991. Brett Favre got here in 1992. Some really very tough early season losses and a ton of injuries, and they are 2-7, but hope to build on that upset win at Atlanta last week. Meanwhile, the Vikings have made most of their headlines this season with their off-the-field shenanigans. On the field, they started 1-4, but they've won 3 of the last 4 despite losing Dante Culpepper to a knee injury for the season. The new quarterback is Brad Johnson, and if they can win tonight, they will at least keep Chicago in their sights in the NFC North. John, let's talk about the quarterback situation. Culpepper gone, Brad Johnson, 14th year in the league, won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay 3 years ago. But what difference does that make to this team now?
Well, you know, Brad Johnson is totally different from Dante Culpepper. Dante Culpepper has a strong arm. They throw a lot of deep passes. He could run with the ball. Brad Johnson doesn't do these things. You know, he manages the game. He's a short passer. He makes good decisions. He doesn't throw interceptions. But having said that, I think they need what they had last week. He needs help from his defense and help from his special teams.
He's a little older, about a year older than Brett Favre. Favre is in uncharted territory. He's always playing for something in November up until now. So how does Favre and the Packers handle this?
Yeah, I was talking to him about the other day, and he said it's just a challenge. You know, this is a different type of thing. And you look at Brett Favre, and you want to say, you know, what's wrong? They're 2-7. What's wrong with Brett Favre? There's nothing wrong with Brett Favre. I mean, he still moves like he always did. He still has the same velocity. And maybe the biggest thing, he has the same enthusiasm. And he said he loves a challenge. And he said that win last week against Atlanta was a big one for him. He really enjoyed that.
And some of his most memorable performances have come against the Minnesota Vikings, the renewal of a great rivalry. These two teams have been facing each other since 1961. Ready for Monday Night Football. Now the McDonald's quarterback comparison. Brad Johnson is in his second stint as a Minnesota Viking following stops in Washington and Tampa Bay. Now in his 14th season, he's 2-0 this year as a starter. It's been an uncharacteristically uneven performance this season for the Packers' Brett Favre. He has 16 touchdown passes, but his 15 interceptions are most in the league. Visa Skycam will provide the most compelling views of all the action taking in places no other camera can. And tonight the return of former Packer Pro Bowl safety Darren Sharper, making his first Lambeau appearance as a Minnesota Viking, and he's mic'd up for Monday night.
What's going on? Oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm trying. Yeah. I'm trying to keep doing it as long as I can. Yeah, I try to shine. I try to shine.
Weird walking out of that tunnel right there.
I know, it is. It's strange. I went to the locker room, I was like, man, but this is what it looks like.
This is what it looks like.
This is what it looks like. So.
I don't think I've
Temperature in the low 30s. It'll go down just under freezing by the end of the game, but no precipitation. Lambeau Field in Green Bay. These two teams meeting, and in the NFC North, the Chicago Bears beating Carolina yesterday 7-3. The Vikings can go to 5-5. Otherwise, the Bears are going to have a 3-game lead over Minnesota and Detroit. Green Bay at 2-7. Green Bay to kick off, and Ryan Longwell to send it skyward for the Green Bay Packers. The crowd rises as one. Corin Robinson ran back a kick for a touchdown last week as the Vikings shocked the New York Giants thanks to special teams. And a one-hopper is fielded at the 9-yard line. And the ex-Seahawk brings it back up to the 29-yard line. He's tackled there by Michael Montgomery. Here is the Viking offense.
Brad Johnson, Florida State.
Newell Moore, Greenway.
Jermaine Wiggins, East Boston.
Travis Taylor, Florida.
Marcus Robinson, University of South Carolina.
Jim Kleinsasser, North Dakota.
Brian McKinney, the U.
Tornado Versa, Telephone Chief, Nebraska.
Corey Withrow, Washington State.
Adam Goldberg, University of Wyoming.
Mike Rosenthal, Notre Dame.
You heard Noel Moore say Green Wave. He went to school at Tulane. He's the starting running back tonight. And he gets it. The first carry of the night is a 2-yard pickup to the 31-yard line. Cullen Jenkins makes the hit. Here's the Green Bay D.
Aaron Campman, Iowa.
Grady Jackson, Knoxville College.
Cullen Jenkins, Central Michigan.
Kabir Bajabia-Miller, San Diego State.
Niall Diggs, V, Ohio State University.
Nick Barnett, Oregon State. Paris Lynn, Richmond.
Moy Carroll, Arkansas.
Mark Roman, Louisiana State University.
Nick Collins, Bethune-Cookman College.
Al Harris, A&M Kingsville.
Nick Collins, a rookie who started every game. Remember, Darren Sharper traded to Minnesota, actually became a free agent and is with the Vikings. And the second carry of the night belongs to Noel Moore. He's stopped there by Cullen Jenkins. It'll be third down.
And the Vikings are trying to run with power because what they do is they put Kleinsasser back there at fullback. And then anytime he's the fullback on a running down, he is going to lead the play. So you get a 270-pound lead block.
He comes out. Jermaine Wiggins comes in. Wiggins made a big catch last week to set up the game-winning field goal. Vikings last week on the ground against the Giants averaged less than a yard per carry. Johnson out of the shotgun. He's going to step up. He's going to run for the first down and get it out past the 40 and slides to a halt at midfield. So Brad Johnson taking off. Johnson started his career with the Vikings, then went to Washington, won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, and now back in Minnesota.
Yeah, I was just saying one thing that Brad Johnson doesn't do like Dante Culpepper is run with the ball. But if he steps up and you give him a lane like this and he can see all the way downfield about 20 yards before he sees a green jersey, I'll guarantee you he's going to run with it.
16-yard gain. Here's a little shovel toss. Noel Moore will take it to the 45-yard line. Last week, Minnesota had only 12 yards rushing in the entire game. Mike Tice looked on as his special teams with a kickoff return and a punt return, and Darren Sharper's interception won it.
You notice Brad Johnson's wearing gloves? Yeah, I was never sure about that thing. You know, if that's something that you want a quarterback to do. Yeah, but I've always felt if you're going to do it in the game, you better do it and practice it all week.
Good night to do it. 2nd and 5. And that toss is caught as Jermaine Wiggins is there to make the catch. Kleinsasser was also out in the neighborhood, and so Jermaine Wiggins, who always seems to be in the right place at the right time, somehow, some way, makes the grab first down.
Yeah, you don't know if Brad Johnson was really throwing it to Wiggins or not. You're going to see he has good pass protection here because he was able to take the ball up, bring it down, bring it back up again, and get it out there to Jermaine Wiggins, but it was just over the head of Kleinsasser. Both of them being in the same area means that one of them wasn't supposed to be there.
Wiggins, their leading receiver. Remember, this is the first year for the Vikings without Randy Moss. Traded to Oakland in the offseason. Pump fake, and then is his hand coming forward. There is no whistle yet, and for the moment, it is Kabir Bajabia-Miller who is able to get what would be a sack, forcing the fumble, and then it's recovered by Brian McKinney for Minnesota at the 41-yard line.
You know what he did? Watch number 74, Campman here. He's getting a big push on this side. as Brad Johnson pumps, then he goes to step up. Kabir Bajamia-Billah gets him from behind. Watch him. He's coming here now. He gets a pump. He gets inside McKinney, and he just hits him just as that ball is coming down.
So it's a sack and a fumble, but a McKinney recovery. Johnson, who didn't play at all in the shotgun in Tampa, but has had success this year out of it. And again, he goes to Wiggins, and he'll take the ball to the 31-yard line, where it'll be third down at about 6. Nick Collins, the rookie safety, makes the hit.
And that was one of the things that Brad Johnson liked. He said down there at Tampa, John Gruden didn't like nor use the shotgun, and it was something that he was always lobbying to get in. And he always has felt, wherever he's been, he's felt very comfortable in the shotgun. And you can see, I think he's that kind of a guy. He doesn't have a lot of foot speed, and he is better when he's back in the pocket getting the ball.
He didn't throw a single pass from the gun in 3 years with the Bucs. Third down and 6. 5-man rush, and it's knocked down at the line of scrimmage. That's Cullen Jenkins knocking it down, and it'll be fourth down.
See that Mark Roman is coming on a blitz too. He's number 20. He's right down here at the end of the line. And so you get the pressure. You see they have the blitz. They have an overload from the right side. And then the ball gets batted down over here by Jenkins on the other side. But they overloaded that right side. Jenkins was just kind of on the line of scrimmage. And that was why he was able to bat the ball down.
This will be a 49-yard attempt for Paul Edinger, whose 48-yarder won the game last week at Giants Stadium, and that kick is a low kick that doesn't get there. Edinger, who beat the Packers earlier this season with a 56-yarder at Minnesota, is short. Favre and the Packers have it when we come back. Monday Night Football from Green Bay is being brought to you by Bud Light. Smooth and refreshing Bud Light, great taste, great times. Domino's, the delivery experts get the door. It's Domino's. And Nissan inviting you to shift the way you move through the world. Cold and cloudy in Green Bay, where the aerial coverage tonight is being brought to you by Budweiser.
Brett Favre was telling me the other day, Al, that he was lobbying for the first play of the game to be a deep pass. We'll see if his lobby won.
I suspect it might have. No, he loses. It's a draw. And this is Sam Congato, and what a story he is, which we'll detail shortly, as the native of Nigeria picks up 5, stopped by Sharper. Here's the Green Bay offense.
Brett Favre, University of Southern Mississippi.
Sam Congato, Liberty University.
William Henderson, North Carolina.
Robert Ferguson, Texas A&M.
Donald Driver, Alcorn State.
Bubba Franks, the U.
Chad Clifton, Tennessee.
Scott Wells, Tennessee.
Mike Flanagan, UCLA.
William Whitaker, Michigan State.
Mark Tauscher, Wisconsin.
Whitaker, a rookie. Wells, a second-year guy. Brett Favre now on 2nd down and 4. He's got Tony Fisher, who's been out for a couple of games with a rib injury. Out of the backfield, and Favre starts to stumble. So Brett trying to turn to his left. He began to stumble, and Erasmus James, their #1 draft choice, one of 2 in the first round, a rookie out of the University of Wisconsin, will get the sack.
And the Vikings just knew that, and they just take off because they had 4 wide receivers, and then the back goes in motion, so there's no one in the backfield, so they know, okay, we have no run here, so let's run a stunt, and that's exactly what Erasmus James did. But that's easy to do when there's 4 wide receivers, 1 back, and the 1 back goes in motion. You only have 1 thing left.
3rd and 13. Favre will take this snap out of the shotgun. 4-man rush, and Fisher is able to one-hand it, but he can only get it to the 45-yard line, so it'll be a 3-and-out start for the Green Bay Packers with 8.5 to go in the first quarter, and in comes the punting unit.
It was interesting to see how the Packers are trying to start, because both on 2nd down and 3rd down there, they had a 4 wide receiver package in.
B.J. Sanders, John, 3rd-round pick last year.
I was just saying, one of the reasons that Brett Favre wanted to throw deep is because he's been throwing mostly short passes this year.
I'm surprised he lost that battle. Noel DeMoore, who ran a punt back for a touchdown against the Giants last week, takes this kick from Sander back to the 24-yard line. Johnson and the Vikings have it for the 2nd time. 8 minutes left in the period. No score at Lambeau. Taniya Finoti, 6'4" and 386. Started the season with the Chargers, came over to Minnesota, and Mike Tice is trying to find that right combination up front. So he gets the start tonight at left guard. 42 different starters for the Vikings this year. Only Arizona has had more. And Melody Moore gets taken down by Colton Cole after a gain of a couple.
You know, when Finoti came from the San Diego Chargers to the Minnesota Vikings, he weighed over 400 pounds. And they were, you know, they feel pretty good about him now, getting down to 386, and figured he's on his way to being ready to play. And Mike Tice was talking about the change that he wanted to make, and it's as much about attitude as anything else. You know, that he needed, you know, toughness in his offensive line that he didn't feel he had.
Especially after last week when he averaged less than a yard per carry. That's Melody Moore, and he's stopped here by Grady Jackson. Mike Tice took over for Dennis Green at the end of the 2001 season.
You know, you talk about big guys. Watch Grady Jackson. Here's a run stopper inside. You see, he just takes on the guard, plays off the tackle, comes right down the line of scrimmage, and collapses anything in his way. There is what we call a run stuffer.
Finoti against Jackson tonight at some point. It's like a sumo match. 3rd down and 6. Johnson. And that pass is incomplete. Too high, intended for Troy Williamson, one of their 2 first-round picks. He was the 7th overall pick in the draft last year out of South Carolina.
And Cullen Jenkins hit Brad Johnson just as he threw that, and he couldn't step up and get anything on it, and that's why the ball took off and sailed on him.
4th down. The punter is Chris Cluey. 46.3 is a great average. Antonio Chapman, the sure-handed one, will run it back. Chapman at the 31-yard line. Tries to get around the corner and does. And turns what would have been a negative run back into about a 10-yard run back, breaking out of a face-on tackle and setting him up near midfield. 41-yard kick and a 9-yard run back. There is a sudden star in Green Bay after last week, and his name is Samkon Gatto, native of Nigeria, came to the U.S. when he was 9, went to Liberty University in Virginia, and he is their #1 running back right now. And that is Gatto, who scored 3 touchdowns last week in Atlanta. So you look at Green Bay. Amon Green, what happened to him? Quadricep injury, done for the season. His backup, Najee Davenport, done for the season. Tony Fisher came in. He had a rib injury, and that paved the way for them to get Gatto off the Kansas City practice squad, put him on the Green Bay practice squad. He gets the start last week, 3 touchdowns.
I was talking to Brett Favre about that the other day, and he said, that's kind of what our season's been like. He said, here we are talking about Samkon Gatto after we're 2-7.
2nd down and 9. Fake to Gatto. Favre is going to stop and come back and buy time. And that is vintage Favre, and it is caught by Gatto. A legend in the making. E.J. Henderson, the linebacker, running with him. Pretty good coverage. He makes the catch, hangs on to it. 30-yard gain.
You know, every defensive player knows that you have to plaster when you play against Brett Favre. Every offensive player knows that no matter what you're doing, he faked to Gatto, and then Gatto just kept going down the sideline. But every offensive player is alive when Brett Favre is a quarterback. Samkon Gatto learned that quickly.
First down, Green Bay at the 30-yard line, and they go to the big man again. And when you think about a native of Nigeria's, it takes about 4 guys to knock him down, and he still is able to plow forward and pick up 3. You think about Christian Okoye from years past with Kansas City. Let's check in with Sam Ryan.
Well, that's right. Samkon actually told me when he first came over, he didn't understand football. He thought the shape of the ball was fun. He didn't know why they called it football and used his hand, but he learned a lot from watching Christian Okoye with the Chiefs, the running back. He said the only Nigerians he knew in the States, his family and Christian Okoye. He didn't know him personally, but on Sundays they would turn on the TV, they would watch him. He said, quote, it was cool.
From Sam to Sam. Thank you, Sam. 2nd down and 7.
One thing he learned is to keep his legs driving.
He just proved that on that last play. There's the fake to him. And then Favre with a little jump off, and that's going to be a first down as the ball is caught by Donald Lee, one of the 3 Green Bay tight ends. It's a gain of 8. Moves the chains. First down inside the 20. They're in the red zone.
Yeah, and that's why Brett Favre needs a running game so much. You know, over the years, the Packers have kind of turned to a running team. And then once they got that running game going with Amon Green, A.J. Davenport, and then they could go the play-action pass and the bootleg. Now he gets a little from Sam Gatto, and then he's able to run a couple of bootleg passes right after he gets a couple of runs.
From the 19, and that time Gatto can't get out of the backfield because Pat Williams, the ex-Buffalo Bill, played there when Ted Cottrell was the defensive coordinator. Teddy now the defensive coordinator with Minnesota. There is Cottrell. Pat Williams right there to stop him in the backfield.
You know, Ted Cottrell was talking about Pat Williams last night, and he said his nickname is Knock 'em Back Pat, because he just takes any offensive lineman and knocks him right into the backfield. That time, I don't think anyone blocked him, though.
Untouched. Knocks Gatto down for a loss of 5.
But those 2 tackles, Kevin Williams and Pat Williams, are very disruptive inside.
Fake draw. Lee has it. And Lee slips a couple of tackles and takes it to the 15-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down and 6 with under 3 minutes to play in a rapidly paced first quarter.
You know, the Packers have a lot of packages, and one is 2 tight ends, and the 2 tight ends are David Martin and Donald Lee, not Bubba Franks. Now they get out of that. Now Bubba Franks comes in. So you would think anytime they'd have 2 tight ends that Bubba Franks would be one of the tight ends. He is not in the package tonight.
This is a guy you normally go to inside the 10-yard line. 3rd down and 6. Favre to the outside. You got a flag, and it's caught by Driver for the touchdown. So assuming it's not offensive interference, Green Bay will be on the board. Driver, the pull notwithstanding, with the Lambeau leap.
And if there's one wide receiver that Brett Favre has confidence in right now, it's Donald Driver.
Walt Anderson.
Illegal contact, number 21. Defense. A penalty is declined. Touchdown.
Donald Driver, a real coming-of-age year for him. Touchdown, Green Bay.
There's Donald Driver right there, and you see it's a cover 2 down there. Most people that close to the goal line don't use a cover 2. And that's where the corner comes up and the safety comes over, and he gets by the corner, and he gets the ball before the safety gets over there.
Ryan Long off at the point after. Green Bay lost their top wide out, Javon Walker, early in the season, so Driver has stepped up. Has caught 51 balls coming into the game, and one here from Favre for a touchdown. 7-0 Packers. Favre was perfect on the drive. He had that 30-yard pass to Gatto, and then Driver the 15-yard touchdown reception. And Brett Favre has thrown the 393rd touchdown pass of his career. Only Dan Marino has more at 420.
Someone had a dream or a premonition, didn't they?
Yeah.
Brett Favre, Donald Driver on the horse trailer. Who would have thought?
Good start. Longwell's kick. Fielded at the 12-yard line by Corin Robinson. And that's a nice bit of work by Henderson to get in amongst 3 Vikings and make the tackle. 2:11 to go in the opening period. Packers on top, 7-0. Next week, we will be in Indianapolis. The Colts are unbeaten. They're 10-0. Can they go to 11 against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football? ESPN Sunday, Saints, Jets. Brad Johnson and the Vikings at the 22-yard line, first down. Sauce is going to make the catch. Wynn's going to pick up a first down. One thing about Brett Favre, John, we know he doesn't have a sore arm.
No, and he can drill the ball. You see, here's Corey Chavis here. Here's Donald Driver, and you're going to see a rotation up here. Now watch the hole that he's going to have to drill this ball in. See, the corner comes up and rotates. Now, we can stop it right here. Here's Donald Driver. This is what Brett Favre sees. He has to drill it right between these two guys, and he does it. That is a throw. Almost knocked Donald Driver over.
Through the middle goes Mwelde Moore to the 39. How fast was that pass?
You ask?
The answer is with a lot of fanfare.
So
66, which they tell me is the equivalent of a baseball traveling 98.
And in this cold weather, imagine what that was like for Donald Driver to catch.
Yeah.
Or to just stop, maybe.
2nd and 5. And this is Moore going through the middle again. It'll be 3rd down and about 3. Paris Lennon in on the stop with less than a minute to play in the opening quarter.
Grady Jackson's doing a good job inside there, he and Cullen Jenkins, because Brad Johnson was saying last night that to get a rhythm offensively, we have to be able to run the ball. And, you know, it's not all about just getting a rhythm passing, but you have to be able to, you know, get bigger chunks of yardage in the running game if this offense is going to get in any kind of rhythm.
3rd down and 3. Three wideouts go into varying patterns, and that is caught by number 19. That's Troy Williamson, the South Carolina rookie. He makes the catch. That'll be a 1st down, and that's going to take us to the end of the opening quarter.
That's their speed guy, their number 1 draft choice. They lose Randy Moss. They pick up Troy Williamson.
End of the first quarter. Green Bay 7, Minnesota nothing. And Monday Night Football continues after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, as we start the second quarter. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Sam Ryan with you. Monday Night Football in Green Bay to wrap up the 11th week of the season. Packers on top 7-0. Green Bay has their defensive unit out right now with the Minnesota Vikings at the 45-yard line. 1st and 10. Brad Johnson with the deep drop and time. And going down the right side, and it's picked off at the 29-yard line by the rookie Nick Collins. The turnover there, and Green Bay gets the ball right back. Johnson throwing his first pick of the season in his 3rd week as the starter, and Nick Collins, the rookie out of Bethune-Cookman, 2nd-round draft choice with the interception.
Yeah, Brad Johnson read that. Here's Mwelde Moore right here, and he thought he had man-to-man coverage on the linebacker, which he did. He throws it a little short and lets that safety get over there. You have that free safety just sitting back there reading, so he doesn't always have to go with a wide receiver. You try and get a running back deep, and that safety can make that same move.
So his career interception for Collins. Favre now from the 28-yard line, throwing underneath. The catch is made by Robert Ferguson, who's missed some time of late with a knee injury. Came back, and then on Friday hurt himself in practice to the point where it looked like he might be done again. But he was able to come back on Saturday, looked a lot better, and is in the starting lineup tonight.
Yeah, when I watched him in practice the other day, I said there's no way that this guy can play, and then he got better the next day, and as you said, they were going to try him out before practice tonight, and they didn't even do that, so they had to feel pretty good about Robert Ferguson.
Dotto, and he can't get out of the backfield. Robert Ferguson Dotto gets tackled by Cowart. He had gotten hurt in the first game of the season between these two teams at the Metrodome on October 23rd. The Packers had a 17-0 lead at the half, and the Vikings won the game 23-20 on an Edinger 56-yard field goal at the end.
And the Packer defense has improved this year, but Jim Bates, their defensive coordinator, said that was one of the worst halves of defense that his teams have ever played anywhere.
3rd down and 6. Tony Fisher is the back. Favre throwing off his back foot, and that pass is incomplete. Threw it behind Antonio Chapman. So the Packers cannot capitalize on the interception. Go 3 and out, and they'll punt it away.
You know, that's the thing when you have new players all around you and you have different wide receivers, then you try and go 3 and then you go 4 wide receivers. You're just really getting into depth, and then you're throwing to a lot of guys that you haven't had a lot of practice with.
Sander to kick. Fielded at the 27-yard line by Mewoldy Moore. And Moore brings it back up to the 32-yard line. 13:23 remaining in the opening half. 7-0 Packers. Here is Ziggy Wilf, who bought the team this spring, and his brother, younger brother, Mark, who's the president of the team. Wilfs are here tonight. They took over for Red McCombs, bought the team, hope to get a new stadium. It's been a crazy offseason for the Vikings. We'll detail it in a second. But the Wilfs are committed to getting everything back in order here. And they're trying to do the best they can under some pretty extraordinary circumstances. Moore picks up 2. As you take a look at what's been going on with the Vikings, you go back to the trade of Randy Moss to the Raiders on March 3rd, so they get rid of Moss after 7 years, and Wilf comes in and he buys the team for about $600 million. Ontario Smith, 3rd violation of the substance abuse policy, gone for the year. Mike Tice scalped Super Bowl tickets, and the NFL fined him $100,000. Then, of course, you had the Love Boat situation, the ongoing police investigation as to what took place in October. Culpepper is gone for the season, tearing 3 ligaments. And they hope he can play at the beginning of next season. Apart from that, not a lot's happened around Minneapolis. On 2nd down and 8, here is Johnson. A flag is thrown, and Johnson is taken down at the 32-yard line. Walt Anderson's crew has not been particularly busy tonight. Only our 2nd flag of the game. And the other was declined. On the penalty coming for illegal contact on the touchdown. Mike Tice, a tight end, as a player for a lot of years, played in over 170 NFL games.
And never had a knee injury and got one last week in the Giant game. In fact, he's wearing a brace for the game tonight.
Yeah, he's lucky he's still able to walk after the shot he took on the sidelines of the Meadowlands.
Holding. Number 74, offense. The penalty is declined. It's 3rd down.
That's Brian McKinney, who Mike Tice said last night has been their best offensive lineman this season.
Yeah, he is, and he has a tough job tonight to, blocking Kabir Bajabiamela, because anytime you have a speed rusher, if you don't get up, if you don't beat him on the snap, then the next thing you do is your feet get in bad position, and then you have to grab or hold. This is a pretty good matchup right here. You can see McKinney doesn't even get in a 3-point stance. He is ready to go into pass protection.
3rd and 9 out of the shotgun. McKinney rides his man off, but from the other side, Aaron Campman comes in and forces the issue, and the pass is incomplete.
There's a pretty good player, Aaron Campman. You always think of Bajabiamela on the other side, but this guy here has been a tackle. They moved him in, and he's a very solid player. I mean, he makes a good pass rush here. He just starts up, gets his right hand on Rosenthal, just pushes him by, and then goes right underneath him.
Chris Cluey to punt. Antonio Chapman stands back at his own 25-yard line. Into the cold night air, it's a high floating kick. Caught at the 26. And a 5-yard run back to the 31-yard line with 12 minutes and 2 seconds remaining in the opening half. At venerable Lambeau Field, Green Bay 7, Minnesota nothing. Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers ready to host the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. And Favre to Driver, the only scoring thus far. 15-yard touchdown pass. Green Bay has it now. Favre has started the game 6 of his first 7 for 76 yards. And there is Donald Driver, who caught 10 passes last week and a touchdown tonight. And Favre will throw, and that'll be an 8-yard gain as he goes to the tight end Bubba Franks. And tonight, the ex-Packer, now Viking, Darren Sharper, mic'd up.
Hey, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. That should be there. Just play like two cover two, just get over top of one. And then the seam, let the linebacker handle the seam. That's why I told B-Dub too, I'm gonna play like two cover two. All right, we need some points, baby, we need some points.
Sharper dressing in the visiting locker room for the first time at Lambeau Field. And here goes Gatto on 2nd and short up to the 44. And John, it's another case of salary constraints and all of the rest. He played 8 years here, wanted more than Green Bay was willing to offer, and so he winds up staying in the division.
Well, remember, towards the end of the season, he had injuries. He was banged up a little, and they weren't sure how healthy he was, and what they tried to do is cut his salary, give him less than he thought he was worth. So then he said, no, I'll go look elsewhere. And the Packers came back up a little, but he said then it was too late.
And last week he had 3 interceptions against the Giants, including one that he ran back 92 yards for a touchdown. Gatto to the outside, nothing there, nothing at all. And he's tackled back at the 40-yard line. C.J. Mosley, the first to stop him.
Yeah, that's one thing that Gatto is going to learn is that you can't get out there and stop. If they start to get penetration, if they start to get up the field, then you have to make your cut. And if he sees out there that they're out there, you can't cut out. You better just take it up the field, get as much as you can. But the minute you stop, it's going to be a loss.
2nd and 14. 10 minutes left in the first half. 4-man rush. Favre in trouble. Favre's going to go down at the 37-yard line. That's Lance Johnstone, one-time Raider, who sacks him back at the 37-yard line.
Yep, and he's their pass rusher from that side. He's going to be on Chad Clifton. Here you see Lance Johnstone here. He just starts up the field, and then when he can't do anything there, he decides that he'll just go inside. He started up, tried to get to the outside, couldn't, so he just changed his mind and his feet and went back inside. That's what you have to do as a pass rusher. It's always your hands and your feet always have to be working all the way to the quarterback.
3rd down and 17 from the 37-yard line. Again, a 4-man rush. They swing it to Fisher on the outside. Fisher's going to get bumped out of bounds by Devontae Edwards, forcing another Green Bay punt.
The other interesting thing that Darren Sharper said when he was in free agency and looking for a place to go, he said after having played with Green Bay and Brett Favre, he said he wanted to go to a team that had a franchise quarterback. And probably in this league, if you're going to win and get into playoffs and have a chance to go to a Super Bowl, you better be with a franchise quarterback.
And he certainly was with Dante Culpepper. The Sanders kick is a line drive, fielded on the run by Moore, and he takes it back out to the 30-yard line. So Johnson and the Vikings try to get something started. 9:08 remaining in the half. 7-0 Green Bay. What a game next Monday night. The Pittsburgh Steelers go to Indianapolis. The Colts try to stay undefeated. New Orleans and the Jets Sunday Night Football on ESPN. Minnesota at the 30-yard line, minus Nate Burleson, their wide receiver. As Michael Bennett sees his first action as a flag, Bennett will pick up 7 yards here. You've had Mewelde Moore in the game the entire way to this point. We mentioned Nate Burleson.
Number 75, offense, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
He's inactive. Penalty right here will be on Mike Rosenthal.
One of the things I think about the Minnesota Vikings, and the reason that they don't have a good running game, is they don't have very big line splits. I mean, their linemen are so tight that there's very few holes that you make with the defense in their alignment. And if you look at the Packers, they have pretty good line splits. And when you don't have good line splits, then you better be running outside. And that's exactly what happened on that last play.
The hold on Rosenthal makes it 1st down and 20 from the 20-yard line. Johnson throwing a slant, DeCore and Robinson. That Seahawk up to the 31-yard line. Let's go to Sam Ryan.
Well, Al, this is the 77-page code of conduct we've heard so much about, handed out to the Minnesota Viking players back on Saturday. Now, it does discuss gambling. It discusses alcohol, smoking, also dress code, but it also discusses work schedule, pay attendance. The Vikings telling me this is more of an employee handbook. I spoke to owner Ziggy Wilf before the game. He said every employee got this, not just the players, and this is not in response to any off-field incident. He did tell me that this is something he wanted to set in place when he first bought the team. I asked him about the timing. He said it just took that long to come out.
They gave it to the players and the staff on Saturday as the screen is set up and Moore is able to pick up a first down. So on 2 plays, they turn a 1st and 20 into moving the chains.
That was an interesting call because what they did is they went bunch right. They had 3 receivers over here to the right. Then they threw that screen pass back to the left. Then you get an overload on the defense to this side, and then you go back to the other side with your screen.
That's Michael Bennett, who had come into the game for the first time, and he is shaken up. So back they go to Mewelde Moore, who missed last week as a running back with a sprained wrist. He picks up a first down here. Moore ran a punt back for a touchdown last week, but his wrist was so bad they couldn't use him out of the backfield.
And again, you know, we talked about those line splits, and you see how tight they are, that there's not going to be many inside holes on man blocking. But since there aren't inside holes, then you can come up, pack everything to the inside, and then bounce it to the outside.
Exactly what Moore does right there.
I was just going to say, with these line splits, they'll have a very difficult time running inside.
From the 45-yard line, good point right there, and it's manifest as you can see it here as Colin Cole is right there to stop Mewelde Moore, who's carried the ball 9 times now for 33 yards.
You know, Cole is one of those guys that has really impressed his Packer coaching staff. You know, when you talk about, you know, who's played well, who's good on defense, they really like this guy.
Played at University of Iowa with Aaron Campman. Picked him up as a free agent last year. Spells Grady Jackson a lot. 2nd down and 10 now. 6 minutes to go in the half. At the Green Bay 45-yard line, Johnson. And down he goes, and that's Aaron Campman. Aaron Campman getting in there all night long. And as John mentioned before, you think so much about KGB on one side, you forget about this guy.
Yeah, he's just beating Mike Rosenthal, the right tackle out there, but Cole gets a good push in the middle, too. You're going to see Campman out here, Cole up here. Watch the push in the middle. Here comes Campman from the outside, and you see the push in the middle? Cole just took his guy. He's just going to take his guy, and it's Finoti, and he's just going to push him right into Brad Johnson. Now that is a bull pass rush by a defensive tackle.
3rd sack of Johnson tonight, and they'll take a timeout prior to a 3rd and 18. John, years ago you created a monster. So it's Thanksgiving on Thursday. You knew we'd sneak a turducken up there. There it is. Turducken and brats.
And brats. Thanksgiving in Green Bay. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I did create a monster and can't get away from it.
I know it. It's from our friend Glenn at the Gourmet Butcher Block in New Orleans, and somehow he was able to get through Katrina, come out the other side, and sends it up here. We thank him. And that pass is incomplete on 1st down, intended for Troy Williamson. It was 3rd down and 18 on that pass, so after the timeout, there you go. A scuffle, Cullen Jenkins and Marcus Johnson, 2 of the principals. Punt coming.
You talk about a defensive guy that can raise havoc. It's this guy right here, Kabir Bajabiamela. And you see him on McKinney, and he's just too fast for him. I mean, he just gets to the outside, and he's always going to be around there where you can't step up, and you better get rid of the ball or he's going to take it away from you.
Chris Cluey is going to punt, and Antonio Chapman back to receive it. Chapman makes the catch and is able to hang on to it as the ex-Giant Ralph Brown is right there to make sure he doesn't get out of his tracks at the 16-yard line. John talking about Green Bay and the rushing game. As you take a look there over the past few years with Amon Green as their primary ball carrier. Very productive on the ground. But this year, Green hurt. Najee Davenport hurt. Fisher's missed some time. Gatto came in and did a nice job, but they're down to under 76 yards per game.
You talk to Brett Favre, and quarterbacks always appreciate their linemen and their receivers, but he really appreciates Amon Green.
The 30th in the league in rushing as Gatto picks up a couple. Gatto right now has carried the ball 8 times for 8 yards.
Because, you know, when you can run the ball, that opens up so many things for you. You know, it's not just running, because that's not the way you score a lot of touchdowns, but you run and then they have to stop the run, so they bring that 8th man down, and then you can play action pass, then you can bootleg, then you can get them deep. I mean, you can keep them off balance. You can do all those things once you get the running game going.
2nd down and 6. Favre's going to throw to the open man over the middle, and that is William Henderson. Fullback picks up a 1st down and move the chains to the 26-yard line. We go to Sam.
Well, you're talking about Amon Green, Alan John. He has a long road ahead of him after suffering torn right quadricep tendon. He had surgery last month. Now, I spoke with him late last week. He told me he's healing, but slowly. Was given a timetable of 10 to 11 months of rehab. Right now, he's working on range of motion, can walk without crutches, but is wearing a brace. He told me the next step is to have the brace removed. That'll be another month or so. Won't be able to lift weights, though, until 4 to 5 months, Al.
So a major injury to him. Of course, Dante Culpepper really has a lot of rehab ahead of him as Gatto goes to the outside and is taken down after a gain of 1.
Listen to this crowd. This is a Milwaukee crowd. You know, the Green Bay Packers have remember, they used to play a couple games every year in Milwaukee, and then they play them all here in Lambeau, but the Milwaukee fans still have 2 of the games, and this is one of the Milwaukee fans' games.
So there is some duplication, but for the most part, you got a lot of people who made the trek up from southern Wisconsin. They were booing Darren Sharper in on the end of the last play. It is 2nd down and 9. Favre swinging to the outside, and then he throws a Mets drop. Then Gatto started to look away at first, and then he pays the price in addition at the end of it.
Yeah, but
Winfield with the coverage.
I'm sorry, Al, but he shouldn't have had to pay the price for that. That's a cheap shot. I mean, you know, if he had been a wide receiver in the open field, there would have been 5 flags out on that play. I mean, the ball is out there. I know he's a rookie and he's a young guy, he's a free agent, all these things. He drops the ball, the play is over. Now that you can't do that. And these Milwaukee fans know that. That's why they're booing, and they're right. That's a cheap shot.
Winfield got away with it. The Viking defense, take a look at that, how bad they've been on 3rd and long. Giving up a 1st down more than 2/3 of the time. 3/4 in some instances, but not here, as Donald Driver gets upended by Antoine Winfield, and Green Bay will punt.
You know, and Antoine Winfield is a good player. I mean, he's a tough guy. He's a good hitter. He's a good blitzer. He's all those things. But, you know, after a guy drops the ball, you don't have to do that. But that 3rd down play was a good play.
And only 1 accepted penalty in the game. That's the hold on Rosenthal of Minnesota. Left-footed Sander to punt. Nice spiral. Noeldy Moore from the 26-yard line. Gets a block. Good run back. 18-yard run back up to the 44. We were talking to Mike Tice yesterday. The question was posed, what's been the best part of your team this year? Take a look at this. There are 32 teams in the league. In none of those categories are they higher than 21st. So Tice pauses and he says, well, we've been inconsistent. Well, the reality is they've been consistent, but they've been consistently below mediocre in every category on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and you can just see tonight that offensively they can't get anything going. I think they're playing pretty well defensively, though. And then you look at last week's game, they got the 2 special teams touchdowns.
Jermaine Wiggins, and that is incomplete. And it's so funny, we come in, John, to Green Bay, the Packers and the Vikings. I mean, so many years they're fighting for the division title. Now, all of a sudden, how about the Chicago Bears?
I think the Bears are really impressive. I mean, Lovie Smith has done a great job there, and they got back to defense. I mean, that's what Chicago's all about. That's what the Bears are all about. They have strong defense, and the thing that impresses me is they can get there with 4 pass rushers. So they can use all the coverages that you have to have.
2nd and 10. And this is Wiggins to the 50-yard line. And if the Chicago Bears needed a validation test, and there is Jim McMahon, who played very briefly with the Packers, but of course made his mark with the Chicago Bears, leading them to the Super Bowl title under Mike Ditka.
And you know, he was a fun guy. I mean, he was a fun guy to watch play and to talk to, and you know, and he enjoyed the game. He also played here in Green Bay, but you know, that 1985 Bears team, I think, was one of the best teams that I ever saw, and it was one of the best seasons for the NFL that I can remember.
And that's tipped at the line of scrimmage and incomplete. Grady Jackson got a hand on it. I started to say about the Bears, John, a lot of people doubting them, a little skeptical. Not after yesterday. They beat Carolina. Carolina was favored. Carolina was hot. And then Chicago handed it to them at Soldier Field.
Yeah, and they're in a division that the teams that you thought were going to win the division are these two, and you can see that they're not a division-winning type team. So, you know, Chicago has a lot going for them.
Louis to punt. Chapman hauls it in at the 11. To the 19. That's going to stop the clock. 3 ticks shy of the 2-minute warning as Richard Owens makes the tackle.
You know, talking about Green Bay and Minnesota again, you know, there was a lot of similarities in that, they both lost guys in the offseason. I mean, it was Randy Moss, and you know, on one side it was the 2 guards in the Green Bay team, and then they both had injuries. We talked about the running back injuries to the Packers, and then the Vikings lose Culpepper, and they just don't replace him. I mean they lose in free agency, and they don't get better players to come in than the players they lost.
And that's one of the reasons Green Bay is 2-7, and the Vikings are 4-5. Screen to Fisher. Gain of 1 to the 20-yard line, and that takes us to the 2-minute warning with 1 minute and 56 seconds remaining in the opening half. Green Bay 7, Minnesota nothing. Lexus halftime show coming up shortly. Donovan McNabb injury update. Tim McGraw will have Week 11 highlights. A minute with Jimmy Kimmel coming up on the Lexus halftime show. From the 19-yard line, fired on a draw to Tony Fisher. That was a 2nd and 9 play. It'll be 3rd down and 3 up at the 25-yard line. Green Bay with all of its timeouts.
And you'd think they'd start to hurry up a little here. I mean, one thing, if you get a first down, you want to hurry up. If you don't get a first down, then you kind of hope that you hadn't hurried up. But in this situation, I mean, the odds for the Packers getting a first down should be pretty good.
3rd down and 3 at the 25-yard line. And the odds are very good because Chapman makes the catch up to the 40-yard line. Now they can start thinking about the clock. They have all of their timeouts. That's a 15-yard gain and a timeout taken right here by Green Bay. Monday Night Football being brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 40. Bud Light, smooth and refreshing. Bud Light, great taste, great times. Citizen Watches, Citizen Echo Drive, Unstoppable, and GMC Trucks and SUVs. We are professional grade. John, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
What are they doing? Making kraut? Is that sauerkraut?
There it is.
You know what I wondered, though, in that one shot? Did I see a guy standing in it with a pitchfork? Or did I miss that?
We saw that a couple of years ago.
The guy wasn't standing in it anymore?
I don't know if he was or not.
I saw the guy with the pitchfork, though.
We got to get a replay of that.
So you wonder when you're eating kraut, is the guy been standing in this?
It's a good thing to think about while you're having your kraut. From the 39-yard line. And that is picked off. Devontae Edwards picks it off, and Devontae Edwards is inside the 10, and he
somersaults into the end zone. He is a rookie out of North Carolina State, a free agent. Reading a story about him this week, he says, I'm dreaming about this. I get to play against Brett Favre. It's Monday Night Football. What a chance to make a name for yourself. That's a dream come true right there.
Right, and you say, how is Devontae Edwards in there? He's number 36. He's the dime cornerback. He makes a pretty good move on that. He goes back, reads Brett Favre, gets a pretty good jump on it. You wonder if he was down by contact before he got up there.
Now, the last 2 minutes is no challenge. It has to come from upstairs. It has to come from the replay official. And with Walt Anderson coming to the sideline, they're going to review it.
Now, I think Brett Favre has more interceptions on that position on the field, the right sideline, than any place else. I bet if you did a statistic on that, you would find that he has a high percentage of interceptions over there.
Andre Thurman was the intended receiver. So he makes the interception. The question is he contacted at all once he has possession of the ball? Close.
I would say no.
Very close. All right, we've been looking at this. This is a very interesting play here. You're going to see Edwards come up with the interception clearly. Makes a great play to keep it from hitting the ground. Now, if Thurman touches him, he may get the towel. If he gets anything, he may, you see the hand warmer and the towel. The towel does not count as part of the body. So if he just got the towel, that is not down by contact. If he gets a part of his body, in a literal sense, that would be down by contact. But it appears that he just gets the towel, and again they have to see enough to overturn the initial call, which was an interception and not down by contact. And if Minnesota is allowed to keep the touchdown, that would be 4 touchdowns on returns in their last 2 games, none on offense.
The ruling on the field stands. Is that a touchdown?
John, Minnesota's found the answer. They have no offense, but you run back a punt, you run back a kickoff, you run back a couple of interceptions, and that's 4 touchdowns in the last 6 quarters for the Vikings.
I think that's the thing that they learned, that that it's not only offense where you can score touchdowns. You can score on defense, and you can score on special teams. That's the way they beat the Giants, and that's what I said earlier. I don't think their offense is going to beat the Packers tonight, but that doesn't mean they can't win, because they can score on defense and they can score on special teams.
Paul Edinger trying to tie the game. 51-yard interception return by the rookie Devontae Edwards with 1:04 to go in the half. 7-7. You always see that headline, many happy returns, and that's what it's been for the Minnesota Vikings. 3 of them last week. This one here by Devontae Edwards with Green Bay trying to move down the field for at least a field goal and take a lot of time off the clock. Unable to do that, they leave themselves 64 seconds and 2 timeouts.
Right, and Brett Favre knows that he forced that one in there, and Brett Favre comes into this game leading the league in interceptions.
Another one right there. So Brett Favre coming into the game had 16. Now he has 17 touchdown passes, but that is his 16th interception of the season in 10 games. Rashard Lee will run it back to the 36. Last week against the Giants, what happened? Manning threw that pass. Sharper picked it off. 92-yard interception return, one of 3 picks for him. Then Corin Robinson on the kickoff that began the second half ran this one back 86 yards. Mewelde Moore had this one straight up the gut, 71 yards for a touchdown. They got the ball back at the end. Jermaine Wiggins made a very big catch. Paul Edinger kicked a 48-yard field goal, and that's how they beat the Giants at the Meadowlands. Little dump underneath to Fisher. Fisher up to the 43-yard line.
The Vikings are going to let him have that stuff here for a series or two. I mean, they're not gonna let him get beat deep. They're not gonna let him have that middle range stuff, but they'll give him the underneath stuff and hope to tackle him right there.
A little underneath there. Andre Thurman just does have enough for a first down. Green Bay's going to stop the clock again with 34 seconds. So that much time and one timeout remaining for the Green Bay Packers. Mike Sherman, 6th year here. And we take a look back at some of the key guys tonight. What's gone on? Favre with that one touchdown pass, and then the interception returned for a touchdown. Brad Johnson, 69 yards, and he's been sacked 3 times. And Devontae Edwards with the big play, the rookie out of North Carolina State, dreaming during the week about making a name for himself on Monday Night Football, and he does.
Hey, and that was a good jump he got on that ball. I mean, he was just playing that dime corner, and he just waited out there, saw the ball in the air, and beat the receiver to it. I think at some point here, Brett Favre has to start throwing him a little deeper, Al.
Been a while. He's 13 to 17, but a lot of short stuff, and that's a little deeper to Donald Driver. In fact, it's a lot deeper. Touchdown. Donald Driver over the middle, and that's good for 53 yards. John, you smelled it.
Well, you know, Brett Favre, doesn't have a heck of a lot of patience. He threw an interception. He's been throwing short passes, and at some point he just says, patience, I don't need patience. I need touchdowns. I need big plays, so he goes and gets one.
So Deanna Favre upstairs, saluting her man. Brett Favre, 2 touchdown passes tonight, both to Donald Driver, and those are the only 2 passes caught by Driver in the game.
You see, this is what happens when you try and go for a shot. Watch Antoine Winfield. He's right here, and he's going to try and undercut that. You see, he saw Driver come down. Instead of going for Driver or staying over the top of Donald Driver, he is going to undercut it. So what he's doing, he's taking a chance. He's guessing. He's trying to get the interception. He didn't get it. Donald Driver gets a touchdown. Now, you can guess against Brett Favre, but you better be right, because if you're wrong, he's going to burn you.
And Donald Driver for the 2nd time in the game with a Lambeau leap. And now 26 seconds remain as the Minnesota Vikings get the ball back.
Well, does he feel good about himself? He was bumping himself in the chest. He hit himself in the chest harder than that first touchdown pass when Brett Favre threw it 98 miles an hour.
Driver loves to work the middle. He's caught 74% of his passes, 3/4 of them between the numbers on the field. Highest percentage of any wide receiver in the league, regular wide receiver, is it's Robinson is going to run this one back, and he just does get tripped as he stopped at the 48-yard line, so they're a pass away from setting up an edge or field goal as Andre Thurman makes the tackle by the shoelace.
You see how he did that? That's when you know you have confidence in your speed, when you can give a delay, and then boom, just go burst on that. I think the Minnesota Vikings have a new right tackle in there. I think Marcus Johnson, number 72, is in there. They took Mike Rosenthal out. He's been having trouble over there with Aaron Campman over on this side.
Johnson is a rookie out of Mississippi, drafted in the 2nd round. Johnson tries to get him into field goal range. That is caught by Bennett. Then it's going to swing to the outside, and Bennett will go out of bounds at about the 42-yard line with 12 seconds, and that will be a first down. But that's not the issue right here. Johnson just trying to get him about 10 to 15 more yards.
Right, and the fact that the Vikings have 2 timeouts, Brad Johnson knows that he doesn't have to throw the ball outside. They don't have to get it out of bounds. that they can complete a pass, complete it inside, and get up there and take a timeout.
From the 21st of November on, in the history of the stadium, there's been only one field goal of 50 or more yards. Edinger has the leg. Can Johnson get him into position? Bennett makes the catch, but he's tackled at the 40, and they take an immediate timeout. So now you have 6 seconds, and now you're in no man's land here. You see, you're looking at about a 58-yard field goal for Mike Tyson. That's going to be a little too much.
Yeah, that'll happen on a none-yard pass.
Yeah, on a none-yard pass. You look at this. I mean, today's the 21st of November. It's amazing to think there have been 63 games played in this stadium through the years, November 21st or later. Only one field goal of more than 50 yards, and it was Fred Cox. And you think of Cox as being as a good kicker, but not a guy who would kick a lot of real long field goals, but he did that for the Vikings here in 1965.
You ever try and kick a bag of bolts?
That's it. Yeah.
A lot of times these footballs just freeze. I mean, they get awfully hard here in Green Bay. Like Mike Sherman during practice, even when they practice inside, he keeps the footballs that they're going to kick outside and brings them in.
They need a fast play and a fast timeout. Instead, Green Bay is going to take the timeout here. So the Packers had a timeout to use. They took a look at how Minnesota was lined up. They can reposition their defense, bring in another group. Timeout taken by Sherman.
Yeah, this is a thing like they do in basketball, isn't it? They line up, then they take a timeout, and see how they. And right. This is interesting here. The Green Bay Packers brought their whole defense over to the sideline. Usually, when you take a timeout, they stay over here. But you look, here's a Green Bay Packer defense right here. Of course, here's the ball over here. So the whole defense came to the sideline, and you're talking to their defensive coordinator, Jim Bates. Green Bay is an interesting thing here. They have a 3-man line, 3 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker, 7 defensive backs.
Hey, if somebody catches the ball in the middle of the field, he's got to go down right away to enable Minnesota to take a timeout. And Johnson's going to throw to the sideline, and that is almost intercepted. It's going to be incomplete. Intended for Marcus Robinson. Rod Carroll covering in the play, and they have 2 seconds remaining.
And now Brad Johnson with 2 seconds just has 1 play. He just has to throw it up into the end zone. I mean, there's no more get a completion and take a timeout or any of those things. You just have 1 more play and you just throw it up, and you hope to catch it or you hope to get a pass interference, because the half we know can't end on a defensive penalty.
Calling a defensive foul. This will do it for the first half. Green Bay up by 7. Johnson's going to step up and buy time. And now he's going to launch one into the end zone. And it is knocked down and incomplete. And the pass intended for Travis Taylor. Packers back there. Al Harris among those covering on the play. And that's the way the half will end. McNabb injury update. Tim McGraw, Jimmy Kimmel coming up on the Lexus halftime show. Our halftime score at Lambeau Field is Green Bay 14, Minnesota 7. And we'll return after this message from the National Football League and a word from our ABC stations.
Where you at? Yeah. Where you at, 85? Been all around this great big world to see you do what they say you do. Where you at? I can't see you. Where you at, 85?
It's an NFL world, and we're living in it.
If there's a synonym for Green Bay, Wisconsin, that word would be football. And that is Vintage Farm touchdown.
Raw power got a magic touch. Raw power is much too much. Raw power here can't be beat. Popping eyes and a flashing feed. Raw power is sure to come a running to you.
There is what we call a run stop.
Devontae Edwards picks it off.
Patience, I don't need patience, I need touchdown.
And back in Green Bay, where the Green Bay Packers lead 14-7. Green Bay 2-7 coming into the game. Minnesota 4-5 and trying to keep Chicago within its sights in the NFC North and make it 3 straight wins before they go home to meet Cleveland in Minneapolis next week, and Green Bay goes to Philadelphia. Pretty wild ending to the first half, John.
Well, it was one of those things that, you know, that Brett Favre doesn't have a lot of confidence in a lot of his receivers, but he does in Donald Driver. And Mike Sherman was telling us the other day that, you know, sometimes he won't go all the way through his progressions. He'll go to one and then boom to Donald Driver, and I think that's what he did on that last touchdown just before the half. He said, okay, enough of this. We've had these short passes. We run those crossers, and let's get a deep one, and I'm going to look for the guy I have the most confidence in, Donald Driver.
Right over the middle for 53 after an earlier 15-yard touchdown pass. This kickoff is taken at the 8-yard line. The fake goes to Henderson. And Richard Lee to the 22-yard line, and that's where they'll take over. Sharper is mic'd up tonight.
Hey! That's how you make a play, boy! You said you were going to make a play on Monday night! You said it! You said it! I ain't the only one that can make plays out here, baby! We all make plays! Yeah, I'm waiting to get some opportunity. I get a chance, I got it. When I went down there, was great job, coach. I had a dream.
Well, we're talking about Edwards and the story during the week about dreaming about doing something big on Monday night, and he did. But then Favre answered with a touchdown. And Brett's first play here is a pass, and that's the first non-touchdown reception for Driver tonight. Sharper is there to make the tackle. The crowd gets on Darren. Used to love him, of course. Rushing yards, Vikings with the edge there, but the passing yards over 100 more for Green Bay. Each team with a turnover, and the Packers have a 7-point lead.
Yeah, we talk about these receivers and, you know, how they're new receivers and different guys. And the thing that they have to learn, Brett Favre is going to throw the ball in some tight spaces, and you have to fight for it.
2nd and 4, trying to ground again. Donald got off to a good start, then he fumbles. He fumbled twice last week, and he got away with both because Green Bay was able to recover in each instance at Atlanta. But this one, after it was knocked away by E.J. Henderson.
It looked like E.J. Henderson had recovered it.
It did, but it's going to be Green Bay ball. So Gatto has now caught it up 3 times in a game and a half and has been very lucky.
See, he always carries the ball in his left hand, and he doesn't get it in there tight. You know, and once you get that wing out or that elbow out away from the body and you get hit, you're going to fumble. You see how he gets the elbow right there away from the body, and it goes right between the elbow and the body out the back door.
3rd down and 3 at the 29-yard line. 4-man rush. Favre comes to his left, throws, juggled, dropped by Driver, and incomplete. So they're forced to punt, but they're lucky they didn't have a lost fumble.
Yeah, they had good coverage. Brett Favre comes back, and he's trying to go out here to his right side. You see, he has 3 guys. He has a cross, he has an in, and then he has another in here. This is probably where he should have gone, but he didn't have time. Then he had to pull the ball up, run out to his left, and throw it to Driver.
The left-footed Sander kicking Mewelde Moore's way. Moore will call for a fair catch this time. Make it at the 36-yard line. Minnesota has the ball. They refurbished Lambeau Field about 4 years ago. The atrium, very popular gathering spot. 14-7 Packers. Standings in the NFC North. Chicago 7-3. The Bears have a tough road down the stretch here. They have 2 home games and 4 road games, and a tough schedule. But if Green Bay wins tonight, they'll have a 3-game cushion with 6 to go. And they already have beaten Minnesota once this season. And Johnson's going to go deep, and Johnson's going to put it right into the hands of Corin Robinson, who gets bumped and can't hold on. Nick Collins is there on the coverage. So Robinson had it and couldn't hold on to it.
You know, this is a speed group that they were talking about last night. Corin Robinson and Troy Williamson. and they have them both out here side by side, and they have one going down the inside. See, Williamson, he's on the outside. Corin Robinson is on the inside. Brad Johnson hits him perfectly. That's the old double post with your speed, and getting your two speed guys in there together is one thing. Then getting them side by side, going deep.
So they take a shot and they go back to the ground. And Michael Bennett to the 41-yard line. Moore started the game. Bennett has seen spot duty. Let's go to Sam Ryan.
And I spoke to Mike Tice at the half. He told me, we got to get our passing game going. We're not making your average dink and dunk 3- and 5-yard passes. He said, as for our defense, I'm happy with that. We're shutting down their running game. We just dropped coverage there in the last play, the Donald Driver touchdown, gentlemen.
They certainly did, and that's the difference in the game. Brett Favre, 15 out of 20 tonight for 186 and 2 touchdowns. Now it's 3rd down and 5. And Johnson will throw, and he's going to get the first down up to the 49-yard line on a catch made by Travis Taylor, the former Baltimore Raven. First down, Minnesota.
Yeah, the problem when all you do is dink and dunk is the defense starts coming up on you. The linebackers don't drop as deep. The secondary doesn't drop as deep. They start crowding everything on you, and then it's tough, as Mike Tice said, it's tough to get your dink and dunks.
Bennett's the running back. Bennett is the ball carrier. He's going to cut it back. He's going to get into Green Bay territory. And Bennett, who played his college football at Wisconsin, is out of bounds at the 44, and there's a flag thrown at the 40.
Yeah, they still have trouble running inside, and I think it's a line splits. I mean, every time they go inside, there's no place to go. They have to bounce every inside run to the outside. Part of it is a Packer defense, but I think part of it is a Viking offensive line.
Holding, number 87, offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. It's still first down.
Wide out Marcus Robinson, the former Chicago Bear, only the second penalty tonight against Minnesota.
Yeah, again, you see the line splits and how close these guys are. It's very difficult to get a hole to the inside. So you see they start to run inside, and the whole Packer defense is to the inside, so the only place that he can take it is to the outside. You saw the hold right there.
Johnson buying time, and Brad goes down at the 42-yard line. And it's Cole and Nick Barnett who converge on the quarterback.
That's a funny play.
Yeah.
Usually when you come outside like that, you just throw it away.
Key guys tonight, what's been going on with them? Vikings, Johnson 90 yards in that first half, 1 pick. Moore averaging 3.6 yards per carry. Wiggins, who's their leading receiver coming into the game, has caught 3 for 27 yards.
This is not a Brad Johnson down and distance.
No, 3rd and 17, and he loses the ball, and it's loose, and that's Aaron Cantman again forcing the issue, and Green Bay has recovered.
Cantman's going to make the Pro Bowl tonight.
That's all it takes. One Monday night, and you're on your way to Hawaii.
Right, earlier was against Mike Rosenthal. They took him out, put number 72, Marcus Johnson, in, trying to get someone over there that can pass protect right here against Aaron Cantman. And you're going to see that he's just too much in this rush. I mean, he just goes to the outside. I mean, that's just terrible pass protection. I mean, at some point when a guy starts up the field, you got to punch him. I mean, you have to use your hands. You have to get on him. You just can't let him run around you.
Kabir Bajabiamila gets the recovery. You saw Mike Tice looking up at the board. He wanted to see the replay to see if he should challenge it, but it's clear that his arm was not coming forward. Definitely a fumble, no challenge, and now Favre will go to work. And Favre throws low, and that's incomplete, intended for Lee. So Cantman tonight having a tremendous night, putting all kinds of pressure on, gets in here, and the two ends combine for the forced fumble and the recovery.
Contact, number 29, defense, 5-yard penalty from the previous spot, first down.
Brian Williams, the cornerback, taking the place of the injured Fred Smoot.
Now, Mike Tyson was worried about dinking and dunking, and now I think his biggest worry has to be pass protection, because, coming in, you're worried about Kabir Bajabiamila. on one side, and now Campen is dominating on the other side.
Campen with 2.5 sacks and that forced fumble from the 31 now. Ball is given to Tony Fisher, and you have another flag. So it's been a relatively penalty-free game, and all of a sudden we have a flag fest.
Holding, number 63, offense, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
First accepted penalty against the Packers tonight, Scott Wells.
Yeah, he's taken over for Adrian Clem the last couple of weeks. There's Campman tonight. This is the first half. This was against Rosenthal, and you see that he just has a good motor. I mean, that it's hands and it's feet and it's keep going towards the quarterback. Took Mike Rosenthal out and replaced him, and that didn't. I think we're going to have to start giving help over to that side, over to both sides.
Daniel Driver makes the catch underneath to the 34-yard line. Gain of about 6 after that penalty. It's going to be second down. Second down and about 14 coming up.
Brett Favre is a quarterback that likes to anticipate where his receiver's going to be and then throw it as hard in that hole as he can. And when you have different receivers and you don't know exactly where they're going to be, it's hard to anticipate.
Fox is the man in motion. Off the fake. Favre has that one tipped, and the pass is incomplete. Erasmus James got his hand on it to knock it away and make it third down and 14.
Erasmus James may become a Kabir Bajabia-Miller. I mean, that speed pass rusher from the outside. He was a #1 draft choice on that play. Instead of rushing the passer, that was what they call a zone dog. So you rush from the left side, and then you drop your defensive end on the right side.
He played his college football at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, one of their 2 first-round draft choices last spring.
I like him. I think he's going to be a pretty good player.
Third down and 14. You got a flag before the snap.
False start, number 76, offense, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Chad Clifton.
Yeah, and he has another speed rusher on him, Lance Johnstone, and that happens to tackles. Again, usually on the road, though, but when you get a speed pass rusher on you, those guys will cause a lot of havoc on the quarterback, but they'll also cause tackles to move early.
Third and 19 from the 40.
Third and 19, the consternation showing on the face of Mike Sherman.
And drive coach is crazy. Yep. 4 wide receivers.
Taking him out of field goal range. The start is third and 19. And Favre's going to launch one over the middle, and that is incomplete. He wanted to go to Driver again, but this time he had 3 guys back there, and that went off the back shoulder of Brian Williams, the cornerback.
I think that's a definition of forcing a ball into coverage, because single coverage is one thing, double coverage is another thing. 3 guys converging on you is forcing the ball into coverage. But if there's 3 white jerseys there have to be some green jerseys open somewhere.
B.J. Sander. High floating punt. Fair catch made by Mewelde Moore at the 11-yard line with 9 minutes and 19 seconds remaining in the third quarter at Lambeau Field. The home team up 14-7.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
Monday Night Football brought to you by Ford F-150, built Ford tough. Samsung, the official HD TV of the NFL. And Snickers reminding you that it's only satisfying if you eat it. Speaking of eating it. Well, it's Thanksgiving week. And we wish you an early happy Thanksgiving.
You think those turkeys know what's right around the corner?
Oh, boy. Oof. I hope that's file tape. They may already have been consumed. Here's Bennett picking up a yard. Virtual reality. Niall Diggs makes the tackle. I've never quite seen turkeys, so I guess you could spell it that way. Oh boy. As the teacher would write on your composition, see me. Second down and 9 from the 13-yard line.
Grady Jackson weighs about 380 pounds. And once he gets it up and gets it going, he can't do anything about stopping it.
Encroachment, number 75, defense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
I mean, sometimes you start something and you just have to keep going. That's what Grady did on that one. You know, and a lot of defensive tackles, it's not that they don't see the ball. I mean, the ball is right in front of them, but what they're doing is they're trying to anticipate the count. They're trying to get a jump on the ball, and they're reading something else other than the snap of the football.
Here's Bennett. Second down play, setting up a 3rd and 2 at the 20-yard line. You get Campman in the game. Campman has been such a big part tonight of what Green Bay has done. Mike Tice, well, he knows all about Campman. Minnesota actually signed Campman in the offseason to an offer sheet. He was a restricted free agent, which gave Green Bay the opportunity to match it, and they did.
Happily.
Yeah, Minnesota should have upped the offer.
That's a good combination when him coming from one side, Miller coming from the other side, and on rundowns, Grady Jackson stuffing the run inside.
3rd and 2, and that pass is caught by Corin Robinson. The Vikings have not been good this year on 3rd and short, but that time they're able to get it to Robinson, and he makes the grab to move the sticks.
Corin Robinson is in the slot here. He's the inside guy, and he knows where he has to go to get the first down. He just gets up there. Al Harris is in coverage. He gets a step on him, and Brad Johnson just puts it out there for the first down. Throws it away from Al Harris.
Johnson throws, and that is caught up at the 39-yard line by Jermaine Wiggins. And he is tackled there by Mark Roman. So their leading receiver for the season, and tonight has just caught his 4th ball of the evening.
You know, one thing about Jermaine Wiggins, he knows how to use his body. I mean, he kind of reminds me of a football Charles Barkley. I mean, you know, when the ball's in the air, I mean, he's turning, he's going to turn his body where all you're going to hit is the back between the 8 and the 5. You're not going to get the ball, or you're not going to get the front of it.
Played 2 Super Bowls, one with New England, one with Carolina. Troy Williamson. And then around to the 47-yard line. Nick Collins making the tackle. Jermaine Wiggins, take a look at that. As we said, New England and Carolina. He wound up there at the right time, 1-1 with the Patriots. And only the second player in history, 2 touchdown receptions on Monday Night Football for 2 different teams in a single season. He caught one as a Jet in 2000 and as a Patriot, and he was one of the guys who caught a touchdown pass in that unbelievable Jet-Miami game when Testaverde threw 4 touchdown passes in the 4th quarter, and they won in overtime. This is Moeldy Moore taking it to the 46-yard line. And a first down.
Now they take Aaron Campman out of the game, and Michael Montgomery is in there. Kenny Peterson is in there. No, it's Michael Montgomery right here. And you see they get a double team on him. Finally, they're going to bring their tight end, Kleinsaucer, in, and they're going to help their right tackle. The only thing is Aaron Campman wasn't in there.
To the 46 now on first down. And there's that man Wiggins again. And look at Wiggins, like Ronaldo Nehemiah. A little hurdle move to the 29-yard line. And Minnesota mounting its best drive of the night, 17 yards on that catch.
It was just a quick out. You know, you kind of look at him and you think that, you know, that that he's really a big guy, but he doesn't play like a big guy. I mean, he can make those kinds of moves. He's not a great blocker. I mean, he doesn't play like a big guy in blocking either, but, you know, he can catch a ball. He can get open. He can use his body, and he can make jumping plays like that.
Yeah, Mark Roman saying, what was that overhead? Campman is back in the game. Moore is the ball carrier. Moore is inside the 20, and Moore has a first down. So the Minnesota Vikings, trying to tie the game, have marched down the field on a drive that started back at their own 12-yard line. That run off a McKinney block.
Yeah, what it was is McKinney blocks Bajabiamila here because they think it's an inside run. Bajabiamila starts to go to the inside, and again, the Minnesota Vikings having most success in they can't find anything inside, starting up inside, getting that Packer defense to come to the inside, and then bouncing out.
At the 16-yard line on first down. Moore picks up 2, maybe 3. Collins up in the safety spot to stop. And this drive beginning back at the 12-yard line. John, it's gone 75 yards.
Right, they're not doing very well at the point of attack. They're having more success going to the point of attack than bouncing out. And on that one, they tried to cut it back, but Nick Collins was right there. Pretty good drive here. They've had 6 runs and 3 passes.
KGB gets a breather. Second down and 7. Drive consuming more than 6 minutes at this point. Pressure by Campman. He gets the pass away. Wiggins makes the catch, but this time he has no room to roam, and Mark Roman is right there to take him down at about the 13-yard line.
And Aaron Campman put a hit on Brad Johnson, too. And, you know, he's been giving all those tackles a tough time, but watch him here. He's not even going to be blocked. The tight end blocks down, tackle blocks down. No one blocks Aaron Campman, and he gets a free shot on Brad Johnson. How can you forget to block him tonight? Now, maybe, you know, like 2 months ago or something, you forgot to block him. Aaron Campman, I'm not sure. But tonight, you can't say, hey, let's run a pass play and not block number 74.
The unanswerable question. You got Richard Owens in the backfield on 3rd down and 6. And they got Johnson going to the end zone, and that's incomplete, but a flag. Jermaine Wiggins was the intended receiver, and you can see Roman arguing with the official, which is going to tell you what this call is.
And if it's what you think it is, the ball is going to be put on the 1-yard line.
Number 20, defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
The instead of interference is just illegal contact, but it's an automatic first down, and it will move the ball inside the 10-yard line.
I just saw the flag in the end zone thinking it was pass interference, but here you see Wiggins right here. He's going to be coming upfield, makes a little move there, and he's that should have been pass interference. Yes. That ball was in the air. If the ball is not in the air, it's a 5-yard penalty for illegal bump or holding. If the ball is in the air and you bump the guy, that's pass interference. They missed that one.
Maldi Moore is the running back here. It's first down and goal. This drive has consumed half the quarter, almost 7.5 minutes. Have they had the ball? Moore gets stopped by Cole. It'll be second down and goal.
Well, the Vikings on this drive, I think, figured out something else, that we ought to throw the ball to Wiggins, because of the 5 passes, 4 of them have gone to Jermaine Wiggins. Still not sure about those gloves on Brad Johnson. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, he's on this drive. He's 15 out of 25. Temperature is down to about 30.
He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing.
14th year in the league. He's got it figured out.
Take both sides of that deal.
Super Bowl ring. Pass incomplete. And another flag is thrown. And this one's going to go against Green Bay, and it's going to make it first and goal because Corin Robinson was held by Jason Horton. So they bring Horton in as the extra defensive back.
Pass interference. Number 26, defense. First down, the 1-yard line.
As I say, Jason Horton is a nickel corner, and he's going to be right here on Corin Robinson. He starts to the inside. See him grab him right there with his left hand? I don't think it was a trip after that. I think it was when he went to the inside on the slant, he grabbed him with his left hand.
Mike Tice's team has not scored an offensive touchdown in 137 minutes. Not since the second quarter against Detroit, so that's more than 2 full games worth. Seatric Faison, rookie out of Florida, is in the backfield. The ball is at the 1, and you've got a stoppage before the play, before the snap. Minnesota had taken the timeout with 1.5 minutes left in the third, and they're on the doorstep. The Vikings had snapped the ball. There was an unusual timeout because now a coach can call the timeout, and it was Mike Tice who didn't like the play call. He goes over to the offensive coordinator, Steve Loney, so he stopped the play. Now it's from the 1-yard line, Faison, the rookie. He can't get in. He scored a touchdown against Detroit 2 weeks ago. The loss of Mo Williams, he now becomes the short yardage guy.
Yeah, now we go back to that thing, about the tight splits and being able to run inside. And Faison is a short yardage guy, and he's just going to bull that thing up to the inside. But there's not many holes in there, and you can see again on the inside that Packer defense is just packing in there.
Finoti is down, so you have an injury timeout here. The day after Thanksgiving, college football doubleheader. Vince Young and Texas, number 2 in the country against Texas A&M early. Then Nebraska, Colorado later in the afternoon. College football Friday on ABC. Finoti is out, 2nd down and goal. You got Faison, and he's going to work his way across the goal line. I think no signal yet. Now you have one. Touchdown. And the Minnesota Vikings have just taken 8.5 minutes to go 88 yards and come within an extra point of tying the game.
You know what they did? They put Marcus Johnson, they moved him from right tackle to tight end. And I think that's what Mike Tice wanted. He wanted a bigger blocking tight end in there, or an extra lineman, and that's where he ran the ball. You see right here, that's what he wanted. And Marcus Johnson was playing right tackle, so he moved him to tight end, put his right tackle Mike Rosenthal back in, and then he got the extra blocker to the side of the run.
Paul Edinger, with an unusual style, bangs it through. 2 big penalties against Green Bay on the drive. And how many drives do you see where a team gets 8 first downs? The Vikings just did it, 14 all. Don't miss it. A week from tonight, can the Colts go to 11-0? Great matchup on Monday Night Football as the Pittsburgh Steelers go to Indianapolis next week on Monday Night Football. Temperature at about the freezing mark. 14 minutes and 14 seconds in to the third quarter. It's 14 all. Perfect symmetry. Kickoff. 10-yard line. Andre Thurman's going to run it back to the 30-yard line where he's pushed out of bounds. And welcome to the world. Argal, Michelle Tafoya, Tyler Bruce Vandersol came into the world in Minnesota the other night. On Friday night, mommy, baby doing great. Even Mark, husband Mark's doing great as well.
And congratulations to him. Yeah, that is a beautiful picture.
Tyler Bruce Vandersol.
Good-looking kid. Good start. He had a good big thumb on him, too. You notice that?
Yeah. Great going, Michelle. We love you to death. She'll be back with us for the final Monday night game of the season in December as Tony Fisher takes it up to the 32-yard line.
Michelle told me after she had the baby, she said, "You think those football players are tough?"
That's right. Well, she told us.
You don't know from tough.
Yeah, it wasn't Michelle on that email she sent us. We put it on the air then. I think I have Lou Groza in my stomach. And that'll be the final play of the third quarter. Good one at Lambeau Field. Minnesota 14, Green Bay 14. And Monday Night Football resumes after this message from our ABC stations.
Monday Night Football heads back to Indy. Hines Ward and the Steelers look to upend Peyton Manning and the undefeated Colts. Monday Night Football, next Monday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ABC.
Aerial coverage provided by Budweiser as you look at Lambeau Field. We start the fourth quarter. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Sam Ryan. Game tied 14-14. And the Green Bay Packers have it second down and 8 at their own 32-yard line. Favre 192 yards through the air. Packers really no ground game to speak of tonight. Still none. Fisher picks up about 3. Make it 2 to the 35-yard line. It'll be third down and 5.
You know, those yards that or the completions you were talking about by Brett Favre have been 9 different receivers. And that's when they, I mean, Donald Driver is the guy that he's trying to get the ball to, but he has spread it around to everyone else.
16 completions. He has Driver catching 4. He has Fisher catching 4. But on the ground tonight, Green Bay with just 18 yards.
Well, they haven't really tried. They haven't stuck with anything on the ground.
Third and 5. Favre will throw, and it's Driver making the catch. And Driver will come up a yard or 2 short of the first down as Antoine Winfield makes the tackle. It's fourth down and another appearance by B.J. Sanders.
You know, that's why that crossing pattern to Donald Driver is a good first down play and a good second down play, but it's not a good third down play, because if you do tackle, and that's what the Vikings were talking about last night, we can't give them any rep. We have to tackle them when they catch it. If it's a third down play, you don't get the first down.
This is Sanders' 7th punt of the night. 25-yard line. Ward takes it on the run. It goes out of bounds at the 33. So after that long drive, Green Bay barely has the ball, and now Minnesota gets it back against that Green Bay defense that was on the field for 8.5 minutes. 14 all.
This town stops in its tracks when the lights come on at Lambeau Field.
And that crowd looking on tonight. The game tied at 14. First and 10. Minnesota has it at the 32-yard line. After that 88-yard march, they begin here with Johnson under pressure. Hammond got a hand on him, and the pass is caught by Taylor. So Johnson was under pressure, was actually contacted as he throws, and Taylor makes the catch, and they have the ball in Green Bay territory after a 25-yard gain.
Yeah, the Packers came on a blitz on that one. You wonder how Brad Johnson ever got rid of the ball. I mean, watch the pressure that he gets. Campman is right there. He goes to step up. He has 2 guys grabbing him, and he still gets that ball out there and out. And that is the toughest throw to throw. The far hash mark to the outside, to the sideline, is the toughest throw a quarterback has to make. Brad Johnson did it with 2 guys hanging on him.
Taylor beats Harris on the play. First down at the 43. Moore cuts it back. Moore's going to get the first down, and Moore is out of bounds at the 21-yard line, and all of a sudden, the Minnesota Vikings, showing no offense for the equivalent of 2 full games, mount that big drive, have a 25-yard reception followed by a 24-yard run on back-to-back plays.
Well, we talked about the Vikings and not being able to run at the point of attack, taking the ball, going inside, bouncing outside, or cutting back. That time, Kabir Bajamia-Miller was going to the inside on a stunt. They just took him in, and Moore just cut that ball back against the grain.
Wiggins cut Harris off with a block on the play. And now some good tough running by Moore with a spin job at the end. Down to the 10-yard line goes Mewelde Moore.
I think the spin job was against Bajamia-Miller because he looked like he had him or was going to get him. And then Mewelde Moore just goes right through it. This is good hard running along with the spin. I mean, there's the spin. Oh, he just ran right through Bajamia-Miller. And the spin he did was on Nick Collins.
Second and 1. All of a sudden, Moore closing in on 100 yards. Mewelde with 87 on 15 carries.
I mean, that's what Brad Johnson was talking about last night. To get any rhythm going offensively, we have to get a running game going, and they have it.
Minnesota takes its second timeout. When these two teams met in Minneapolis last month, Green Bay had a 17-0 lead at the half, and then the Vikings won the game. Now tonight, look at those numbers. It was 14-7 at the half. Now it's 14-all. It's been all Minnesota in the third quarter. And it's 2nd down and 1 at the 10-yard line after a Viking timeout. The rookie facing out of Florida, who comes in as the short yardage guy, tackled by Camden, but not until he picks up a first down. It'll be 1st down and goal.
Yeah, and the Vikings had 2 great drives back to back, and then the Packers, on the other hand, have had 3 possessions this second half and 3 3-and-outs.
Minnesota doing it too without Finoti, who has a groin injury, and he is done for the night. They brought Anthony Herrera in, second-year guy out of Tennessee, to spell him. You've got Marcus Johnson, rookie out of Mississippi, who's been in the game a lot. Patchwork offensive line, and they're doing the job. And this is facing to the 6-yard line.
You know, the interesting thing about that, when they started Finoti and wanted a different attitude, the starting left guard was Chris Lewinsky. And he'd been a starter there for a long time. They not only took him out as a starter, but they deactivated. He's not even active tonight. So when Finoti goes down tonight, there's no Lewinsky to put in there because he's not active.
So Finoti down, Herrera in, 2nd down and goal. But they have found a ground game here in the second half. Moore is back in. Robinson in motion. Johnson coming to his left, thrown to the corner of the end zone, and that's incomplete. Looking for Wiggins, and Wiggins is covering the play by the linebacker, Nick Barnett.
Yeah, and that's why Brad Johnson is a smart quarterback, because he doesn't force things. If there's a guy open, he's going to get the ball to him. He makes his reads, and if there's nothing there, he just throws the ball away. You see, they start off with a bunch. One goes out, one goes to the corner, one comes across. He has nothing there, so he looks, he reads to his right, has to come back to his left, run a little, knows that he has nothing there, just throws the ball away.
3rd and goal. 4 wide receivers, Moore in the backfield. And that pass is incomplete. It was Corin Robinson on a slant, only one hand up, incomplete, and they'll have to settle for an Edinger field goal.
Yeah, you're going to see number 77, Cullen Jenkins. He's going to get a push there and then get his left hand up there, and that's why that ball come wobbling out of there. Well, he still had a chance to catch it, but Jenkins just got just enough of it to turn the ball sideways.
Clearly deflected. Edinger now to attempt a field goal. This is a 24-yarder. Johnson to hold it, and the kick is good. So the Vikings have the lead for the first time in the game. 17-14, Minnesota. Aerial coverage provided by Budweiser as you look down into Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin. John Randall. You barely recognize him without the makeup.
One of the things that Ziggy Wilf wanted to do when he took over as the owner of the Minnesota Vikings is bring back some of the ex-players and take them to games with them and do those kinds of things. I think that's a great idea. I think more teams in the NFL ought to do those kinds of things.
On the sideline tonight as Andre Thurman runs this kick back to the 18-yard line. The Packers this season have lost a lot of very tough games, especially early on. Take a look at their losses here. The first one by 14, but then 2-1, 3-3, 7, and 10. There were wins by 49. They beat New Orleans 52-3 and by 8. Thus, the Green Bay Packers, despite a record of 2-7, have scored more points than they've given up. Something Rose never seen.
You know what I said, and you see it more and more that more of these games come down to the last 2 possessions.
And this is Driver, and Driver is contacted, and you got a flag. Donald Driver held onto by Corey Chavis as he tried to alter the pattern to come back and get the pass, slow down a little bit, and Chavis made contact with him.
Number 21, defense, first down.
Well, that's at cover 2. You see Winfield is the short guy. Chavis is going to be the deep guy over the top, and he gets caught up inside, tries to get to the outside, and has to grab Donald Driver. When you're over the top and you're the safety, you can't let that guy get even with you. You always have to stay deeper than the deepest.
37-yard pass interference penalty. Favre breaks away and then throws it away.
Yeah, those are the types of things you can do when you have big, strong hands. You can throw the ball from any angle. You can throw it with guys hanging on you. Watch him, and you see, he gives a little pump to that, and then he just kind of runs right through it, and then just throws the ball out there. Yeah, that's why I think he can throw the ball so hard, Al, is the grip that he has. I mean, look at where his first finger is and his little finger. I mean, he darn near takes up 3/4 of the ball with his grip.
And before he is done, unless he prematurely retires, he's going to hold a couple of the most important records in football, and then has this one intercepted by Brian Williams. So after the 37-yard pass interference call, Brett Favre back to throw, and Brian Williams, the fourth-year guy out of North Carolina State, makes the interception.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we talked about. He has one guy that he really feels confident in, one guy that he feels is real dependable, and sometimes he'll try and force it to him, and that guy's Donald Driver. He's right here. He's the inside receiver, and you're going to see the coverage on him. They have him inside out. You see, they have the guy from the outside hits him, lets him go, but they're also covering from the inside. Brian Williams, number 29, is the inside guy waiting for him. Brett Favre saw the outside guy. He didn't see Brian Williams.
Moore giving Minnesota a ground game here in the second half, up to the 37-yard line. So Favre gets picked twice tonight, each time by a North Carolina State guy. And he has 17 interceptions on the season. He had the Devontae Edwards interception earlier. Williams is the guy playing in place of the injured Fred Smoot.
And that's one of the things that the Vikings wanted to do, is they know that Donald Driver is Brett Favre's favorite receiver, so they always, if they're going to put any coverage on anyone, that guy is going to be Driver. That time it was an inside-out double, and he threw the inside.
On second down and 3. Moore cuts it back upfield to the 41-yard line. Third down and 1. On the interception by Williams, what did Darren Sharper have to say about it?
Yeah, I told you to make a play. I told you, boy. Hey, I told you to make a play. Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Former Packer really enjoying himself.
Yeah, isn't it funny how they always know after the fact? I told you.
I told you. Yeah. Third and 1. Yeah, and who'd you like in the fourth at Santa Anita? Here's Faison picking up a first down to the 42-yard line, tackled by Nick Collins.
I used to have a player like that, Gene Upshaw, that no matter what happened after the game, if we won a big game, he would say he had a dream about it. And he dreamt that we beat him by 3 touchdowns. He dreamt that Stabler threw 4 touchdown passes. And I said, hey, look, when you have those dreams and you know what's going to happen before, tell me what's going to happen.
Nobody could dream that the Vikings after that first half would dominate the second half the way they have.
But I think what Darren Sharper was talking about is when you play a Brett Favre, you always figure he is going to throw you some. You just have to catch him.
Moore, and that's Niall Diggs, who's missed a lot of action recently with an injured knee, who makes the stop.
Well, now this Packer defense is going to have to come up with a big play. That's what the Vikings have done. I mean, the Viking defense, they hung in there, and then they got those 2 turnovers, and the Packers have to come up and get a turnover now. I mean, their defense has been on the field a long time in the second half, but they're going to have to make a play.
Tim Bates, who was the interim head coach after Dave Wannstedt was out in Miami last year, then came here. Second and 10. Their version of a stretch play is Moeldy Moore coming close to getting a first down as Nick Barnett is able to stop him at the 50-yard line, setting up a big 3rd and 2 off a Jim Kleinsasser block.
Yeah, what they did is they run a run blitz to the other side, and then they figured out that they're not going to be able to run to the inside, so we may as well stretch and get to the outside because we got there with a bounce out, we got there with a cutback. Now let's just say the heck with the inside and go out there with a stretch play.
Moeldy Moore, who could not carry the ball at all last week because of a sprained wrist, has carried 19 times for 104 yards. And Minnesota's rushed for over 100 in the half alone. And a lot more for Moore. Inside the 30 and more to the 25-yard line. So Michael Bennett had been their guy. Then they drafted Moore out of Tulane, and he has come along, but they give a flag down, and this one's going to come back.
Offense, 10-yard penalty. It's still 3rd down.
And that's Anthony Herrera taking the place of the injured Fonoti.
Herrera saying no, that he didn't call. That was a trap play back to the weak side, because what you do is you just have him as a halfback on the right side, and he just runs back to this left side, makes a heck of a move right there on Mark Roman.
I think Herrera had a case.
I didn't see what that hold was.
I don't either. So it's 3rd down and 12 with under 6 minutes to play. Michael Bennett is now in the game. He's the running back. He's going to get it on a draw and go nowhere. In they came. Nick Collins on a run blitz is able to knock him down back at the 35-yard line.
Yeah, this is bringing 7, and again, they knew that they had to make a play. They had to do something. Here's Nick Collins, 36. He's just coming straight up the middle. Now, if it's a pass, he's going to be right on Brad Johnson. If it's a run, he's going to be right on the runner the second he gets the ball.
And he was right there, so it's 4th and 17. So that very costly penalty means Chris Cooley has to come in to kick. Antonio Chapman stands at his own 20-yard line. Lets it bounce. And then the Vikings are going to the Vikings contacted it up at around the 34-yard line, and this one's going to come back to about that spot because it was touched by a Viking after the first bounce.
Like you could hear it touch the Viking.
And so they'll spot it at the 33-yard line. Brett Favre will take possession there with his team down by 3 and 4:49 to play. The Packers have hardly had the ball in the second half. They haven't run it, and passing, Brett's only thrown the ball 8 times, 3 completions, 16 yards. And now they have it to begin this drive at their own 33-yard line, 1st and 10. Tony Fisher is the running back. Favre starts with a pass to the outside. That's caught by one of their tight ends, Donald Lee, out of bounds at the 38 after a gain of 5.
You know, you look at the Packers' second half possessions, you said they haven't done anything. I mean, they had 3 3-and-outs, and then the last possession before this one was 2 plays and an interception.
And the sudden star, Gatto, has only carried the ball 1 time in the half, and that was a fumble. And that was his 3rd fumble in a game and a half, and he hasn't carried the ball since.
And he probably won't carry it again.
2nd down and 5. Favre goes to his second choice, and that's Lee, so he goes back to Lee. Once to the right side, this time to the left side, and the ball is in Viking territory at the 47-yard line, 1st down.
Yeah, I think he figured out that I better get away from Donald Driver for a while. I may be able to come back to him later for a big play, but I have to spread the ball around, and if they're going to double him and they're going to do some of those things, then I better find someone else to throw the ball.
15-yard gain. Williams missed a tackle on that play, and that is batted at the line of scrimmage and incomplete to make it 2nd down and 10. Kevin Williams, I think, is the guy who got a hand on it. The Minnesota Vikings defense, they revamped it in the offseason, brought in some new people. drafted defensively. And yet, coming into the game, same old problems. Ted Cottrell. And tonight, we'll see if they can stiffen here in crunch time.
Well, he got a couple of his guys. He got Sam Coward as a middle linebacker. He got Pat Williams in there, as a big run stopper and disruptor inside. And that's the strength of their defense, of their two tackles.
Four-man rush on 2nd and 10. Favre guns it, and that pass is incomplete, intended for Antonio Chapman, and he flagged down.
That was a bad throw there by Brett Favre because Chapman was there. I mean, he was wide open on that hook, and there was a lot of space around him to get the ball to him.
Walt Anderson.
Illegal hands to the face, number 98. Defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Big penalty, 5 yards, but an automatic first against Darian Scott.
Darian Scott's the left defensive end. That had to be in a pass rush against the tackle. I haven't heard his name all night. I would say that Mark Tauscher, the right tackle of the Packers, has done a pretty good job of pass protecting on that side against Scott.
That's a good point. You don't hear the defender's name, which means the offensive tackle's doing the job.
I watched him on film last week, and I was impressed with both Packer tackles, Tauscher and Chad Clifton.
1st and 10, inside handoff to Fisher. Gets 2 before he is taken down at the, make it the 39-yard line. Call it a gain of 3. Scott is there on the tackle. 3:48 and ticking down. Green Bay with all of its timeouts.
You know, one of the things that's funny how quarterbacks always watch other quarterbacks, and Brad Johnson was talking about Brett Favre and his shotgun, and he said, one thing I like about Brett Favre and the shotgun is they still have a running game. And they probably have a better running game from the shotgun the Packers have over the years than any other team.
Those inside handoffs. Favre throws. That's caught. 30-yard line. You got Andre Thurman and another flag down, and yet another one comes in at the end of the play.
I think that was the same one, Al. I think the guy threw it, then picked it up, and then coming through it again. But now there's a throw right there that only Brett Favre can make. You know when you're up in crowd. And, again, it gets back to the strength, the grip.
Number 33, defense. Penalty has declined as a result of play as a completed pass for a first down.
Ralph Brown.
To watch the strength again, where he could have that ball and start to throw it and then stop and then bring it back and reload it and throw it.
At the age of 36. Far, too high. Pass intended for Robert Ferguson. 2nd down.
I don't think Ferguson has caught a pass tonight, has he?
He has not caught a pass.
Yeah, I was surprised that he was playing at all, and then he didn't practice much the other day, and then he looked better as we said yesterday, and they didn't know if he was going to play tonight, and he ended up starting.
Upon further review, I issued a challenge. Caught one pass for 5 yards.
Yeah. I mean, he just hasn't been obvious in this game.
2nd and 10. And that pass is incomplete. And Antonio Chapman was the intended receiver. Let's go to Sam Ryan.
Should Ryan Longwell come out here, Al, for a field goal? I asked him before the game what he was comfortable with tonight. He said about 45 yards. That was his range for this evening, Alan John.
So right now he would be looking at about a 45 or 46-yard field goal attempt on a night when there's not much wind.
Yeah, right now it would be exactly 46, Al, because the holder now is watching the practice is 8 yards back from the line of scrimmage.
Used to be 7, and they kept sneaking it back inch by inch.
And it's 8 tonight.
3rd down and 10 from the 28-yard line. Favre into traffic and incomplete, in and out of the hands of Andre Thurman. And that was Devontae Edwards who might have gotten a hand on it. Now Longwell will have to come out and attempt that 46-yard field goal.
That's the thing, when you get a rookie in there in this situation, that's the guy that you want to work on. But Devontae Edwards has stepped up to the challenge. I mean, he's the guy. Let's get on him. Let's get that slant on him. Throw it. Get him there as you get a step on him. But he covers it.
2 big plays for Edwards tonight. 46-yard attempt. Sander to hold it. Longwell to kick it. And the kick is good. Ryan Longwell. 2 of more than 50 last week indoors. Tonight at 30 degrees outdoors from 46 to tie it at 17. Lambeau Field, where Neri Sol has left. Good ball game, 17-17. These two teams meeting for the 30th time in this fabled stadium. Each has won 14, and there's been 1 tie, and the game is tied. And each of the last 3 regular season games between these two teams have wound up being won at the gun with a field goal. Longwell twice last year. Edinger this year. It's a bouncing kick that's fielded at the 26-yard line by Richard Owens, and he brings it back to the 33-yard line. Brett Favre tonight, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions, one of which was run back for a touchdown. Donald Driver on the receiving end of both of Favre's touchdown passes. Brad Johnson, 153 yards tonight, sacked 5 times. Devontae Edwards made that big play at the end of the first half to tie the game. Moeldy Moore has really come on in the second half, has rushed for 104. And now Brad Johnson has it at the 33-yard line, 1st and 10. And they go to Moore again. And Moore is able to start with a 7-yard gain out to the 40-yard line as we tick down under 3 minutes to go in regulation.
Boy, they found something here the Minnesota Vikings have. It's the left side of their offensive line against the right side of the Packer defense. What's Brian McKinney here on Kabir Bajamiabilla? He's just too big and too strong, and Biamilla looks like he's worn down. I mean, the Packers in the second half of their defense has been out there a long time.
Decide they go to the left side, but Bajamiabilla is there to stop him, setting up 3rd down and 2. The Vikings have 1 timeout remaining.
You know, the Vikings have run the ball now 8 straight times. And again, I think they found something there. You know, let's run to the left. Let's get it to the outside. Let's get it on the edge. They've been able to do that. So again, they've done it 8 straight times.
So Mike Tice with those 2 fingers, he says, let's take it to the 2-minute warning, which they do. 17 all.
The first Monday night football game ever from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Look at Bart. He's happy, isn't he? Throws, and it's towards the 30-yard line. I don't think he's coming. Touchdown.
Randy Moss squeezes his way in for the touchdown. He's unstoppable.
Randy, you have arrived.
Lays it up for Freeman, and it's incomplete. What are they going to rule it? He caught it? He did what?
Every offensive player is alive when Brett Favre is a quarterback.
Caught by Driver for the touchdown.
Lambeau Field through the years on Monday night, and so it's fitting. Tied, 2 minutes to go.
And as you said, Neri Sol has left this stadium, and for good reason. They know what this rivalry means, that that these 2 teams always come right down to the end, and why leave now? The other thing it means there's going to be a heck of a traffic jam after this game between here and Milwaukee.
Yeah, you bet.
But they don't care. They just want to win here.
A lot of people late for work tomorrow. 3rd and a deuce. They pitch it to Moore. They try the right side. He's got the 1st down. Moeldy Moore to the 49-yard line of the Green Bay Packers.
You know, it was interesting. They started earlier. We were talking about they couldn't run anything inside. They couldn't find anything. So then they started going outside. Then they started going to the left. And they said, let's pack everything out here to the right side and just pitch the ball out and outflank them. And that's exactly what they did. They had trips out here to this side. They just pitched it out to Moore. He got the corner, and after he got the corner, he just squared up for the first down.
Vikings with one timeout remaining at the 49-yard line. That is caught. They go to Wiggins. He takes it to the 41. Barnett makes the tackle. In a perfect world, Minnesota will take the clock all the way down and get into Edinger field goal range.
Right, and they're in the type of rhythm that Brad Johnson was talking about, where they're able to run the ball. They've rushed the ball tonight for 163 yards.
The majority here in the second half. Moore has run for 122. Second down and 2. Johnson with a wide open Corin Robinson inside the 20, taken down at the 6 for first and goal, and now they can take the clock all the way down to the end. Green Bay's going to have to use its timeouts on defense after a 40-yard pickup and a first and goal.
Corin Robinson is the guy that Brad Johnson is going to look for, too. He's a speed guy. If you're going to take a shot, you want to take it right here. Watch him. He's the outside guy there, and he's right out here. And you're going to see he has man-to-man on him, and it looks like the guy doesn't get a good bump, and then the safety, Nick Collins, doesn't get over. I think the corner should bump and then run a little deeper. They let him go right there, and then 36 Nick Collins is late getting over there, and the gap between the corner and the safety was so wide that Corin Robinson was wide open for Brad Johnson. Look at him. He's looking all the way. He sees that thing the whole way. He saw the press coverage up there, probably thought it was man-to-man. It turned into a form of cover 2, I think. But the safety didn't go over there, and the corner didn't stay with him long enough.
And then all Sherman can do is take a timeout to try to conserve some of the clock, but Minnesota can take it almost down to the end here. Green Bay has 2 timeouts remaining, first and goal, and Johnson's just going to, in effect, kneel. They let Green Bay take another timeout. They have only 1, and then Minnesota can set up a game-ending field goal. Monday Night Football from Green Bay being brought to you by Autotrader.com, the smarter place to buy and sell a car. Sirius Satellite Radio. It's more than just radio. It's Sirius Satellite Radio. And BP. So Culpepper gets hurt. He's out for the season. Brad Johnson comes in. He was going to be the backup all year. He beats Detroit. Last week, he's the starting quarterback when they beat the Giants. And he's trying for the hat trick tonight. And if Minnesota wins, they're still in the race.
Right, and it would be 3-0 for Brad Johnson, and that's why when you go out in free agency and you have a good quarterback and you're looking for a backup, you're always looking for that backup that is a quick study, a guy that has experience, a guy like Brad Johnson. You see what he did on that last one? He took a knee, as you said, but he jumped to a knee to get in the middle of the field.
Second and goal and a knee right here, and Green Bay can stop it one more time, which they will do. Now you're in a situation here. I'm sure Minnesota is going to take it down here because they have 1 timeout. The other option you have, but you'd leave too much time on the other side, is if you have a bad snap, you could try it here on 3rd down, but with Green Bay able to take those timeouts, you don't want to take the chance of leaving Brett Favre 25 or 30 seconds.
No, I wouldn't want to leave him anything. I would want to take, if you're just setting up here for a field goal, then you're not going to take a shot. I mean, I always believed that before I took the field goal, I would take 1 shot at the end zone, but that's with a different team. That's veterans. That's, people that have played together for a long time. In this situation, I believe you take as much time off the clock.
And just let Edinger come in on 4th down. So Johnson will take a knee here, and now Edinger will come in to try to win it at the end. So it's going to be a 4th down play, so Tice can take the clock all the way down. You can take it down to 1 second if you want. Edinger tonight made 1 from 24, missed from 49. Last week at the Meadowlands, he missed 2 in the first quarter. Tice says, I got to get it in his mind that like every kick is at the gun. He said early on, he's erratic. But when it comes down to crunch time, he's great. Timeout Minnesota.
You'd rather have that than the opposite, I'll tell you that.
That's for sure.
But if a guy's going to make one, you need him to make it right here, right now.
October 23rd, the big comeback, a 56-yarder. Vikings won it. So you're going to have a fourth consecutive game, if he makes it, between these two teams in the regular season that gets decided by a game-ending field goal. This one will be spotted at the 17, so it's a 27-yard field goal attempt. Brad Johnson will hold it. Colin Loeffler will snap it. Edinger to try to win it. And the Minnesota Vikings, who were 1-4, 2-5, lose Culpepper for the season, have won 3 in a row and are hanging in the NFC North, 2 games behind the Chicago Bears, a team they will see once more before the season is done. So Mike Tice's ball club down 14-7 at the half. Mount that huge third period drive, aided by 2 Green Bay penalties. And then Brad Johnson, who comes over from Tampa Bay to back up Culpepper, is now 3-0 as a starter, as the Vikings win the game 20-17. And we'll have the Autotrader.com post-game show coming right up.
Welcome to the Autotrader.com postgame show. Here now, Al Michaels.
Been 30 years since a quarterback took over a team that was 2-5 or worse and won his first 3 starts. The guy was Steve Spurrier with the 49ers in 1975, and that's what Brad Johnson has done here in relief of the injured Culpepper. Tonight, Brett Favre's first completion to Donald Driver was this one for 15 yards to make it 7-0. But then a huge play at the end of the first half. Devontae Edwards, the rookie from North Carolina State, with the interception and a 51-yard return. But that was answered before halftime by Favre going over the middle to Donald Driver for 53, and it was 14-7 Green Bay at the half. But then that long drive, capped by Faison's touchdown. They went 88 yards in 8:33. Edinger kicked a field goal. Longwell kicked the field goal, and then at the gun, Edinger kicks one through from 27 yards. He does it again, and the Vikings come into Green Bay and knock off the Packers 20-17. Minnesota now 5-5, and Green Bay is 2-8 after the 11th week of the season. On the horse trailer, you go with 2 guys from the offense tonight. Brad Johnson, 18 out of 30 for 196, and Mewelde Moore, spectacular in the second half on the ground, 22 carries for 122. Supporting actor award goes to Devontae Edwards, and we go to Sam.
All right, Al, Devontae Edwards, Mewelde Moore. Devontae, another one coming down to a game-winning field goal. You guys are now 5-5 back in the playoff hunt. What's the mindset of this team?
Man, we're just hungry, man. You know, we've had a lot of adversity, and I think we're overcoming it, man. We're responding well as a team, man, and we're backing our coach, Mike Tyson. We believe in this whole franchise.
Now, you looked hungry tonight. I know you were saying before the game and during the week that as a rookie you want to come in here Monday Night Football and make a name for yourself. You had that pick, returned for a touchdown. How do you describe that? Oh, man, it was exciting. It was exciting, man. I had a dream, actually, last night that I would do something big today, and it came true. You know, Mike Tyson said, you know, you need to dream about making plays. That's what I did last night, and it happened for me tonight. So what was the play you made in your dream? Actually, it was just an interception, but this one I took back to the house, so it was a little bit sweet. So reality a little better, Mewelde. 122 rushing yards for you, 90 of them coming in the second half. What was the difference in the second half as far as this offense?
We just came out and made plays. We lost our first 2 offensive line, Tonyu and Rosie. They went down, and we had 2 fresh offensive linemen in there, and we just decided to come out and make plays and sustain, and hats off to the offensive line. And first and foremost, I want to thank God because he made everything possible.
And I know you had trouble last week carrying the ball because of the splint-type cast that you were wearing on your wrist. What was the difference with it tonight?
Right. Well, today it just it went down a little bit, and I was able to play through a little bit more of the pain. It kind of subsided a little bit, and I was able to come out and make some plays and be able to perform at a level that help my team win.
Well, for the 4th straight time, regular season, Al, they do it on a game-winning field goal.
And sweet dreams for the Minnesota Vikings and Devontae Edwards as they win 20-17. The Browns come up next for them. Then the Lions and the Rams. They're still in it. Pittsburgh and Indianapolis, undefeated Indianapolis. Next week's on Monday Night Football. Sunday's game, Saints-Jets on ESPN. Until next Monday night, Al Michaels, John Madden, Sam Ryan, and our entire ABC Sports crew saying good night from Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin.